Do you want to make your house feel like a home? Do you love home design and decor but don't know where to start? I'm Kasie Savage and this is The Nest, your destination for all things home, decor, and lifestyle with a local twist. We've got your neighborhood experts that know how to keep it real, easy, affordable, current, and creative. So cozy up, grab a drink and get comfy because today we've got the experts, the certified pros, and all the tips, tricks, shopping picks, and advice you need to create your best nest. You know, sometimes updating your home is really a lot easier than we think it is, and all you need is a can of spray paint and some creative ideas. Here we have professional home stager Elise Volpe with us to share some really great tips and tricks to update your home easily and affordably. And really, it's just a little bit of DIY and maybe $100 tops to make a big impact and a big difference on your home, right?
For sure. Yeah, I think I just wanted to show you guys today that there are a lot of easy, quick fixes that you can do that really can make a big impact and update your home.
Well, I think a lot of homes, let's start with the address, for example. A lot of homes have addresses on the outside. Maybe you can't even reach them. You look up and you think, you know, I'd like to do something about those brass numbers, but
yes,
like, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
But those date your house. It makes it look really kind of 80s, 90s, and it's a quick fix.
They do date your house, definitely, and it is a quick fix. I think if you can go to Home Depot or one of the local department hardware stores and just pick up some numbers, and that would be a simple way to do it. But at the same time, if you don't have you know, the money to purchase new numbers, you can get a can of spray paint and just give them a facelift.
But I'm sure you're going to recommend, before you do that, taking them off of the brick or
that
the
would be a good idea.
Before you spray paint. We were just joking that spray painting can become a serious addiction.
Yeah.
And there's a reason why a lot of hardware stores lock up the spray paint.
Yes.
It's not because of kids and graffiti, it's because of people like Elise and I that are like, what can I, like I literally have taken alliums that have dried in my garden and spray painted them gold when they've dried and then stuck them in a vase. Like, it's an addiction.
It is an
when
addiction.
You start spray painting.
And on that note, as you saw from that shot, there's tons of color options now.
Yeah.
It's not like before where there was just, you know, black and white and maybe a couple of colors. You can get almost any color that you want. So you can really stylize a room. One of the examples I have here is
and I love this idea because sometimes you can't find the accents in the color you want, so you don't buy them.
Yes, exactly. And so if you just take a few items, this was literally in my Goodwill box to go.
Stuff that you didn't want anymore.
And take a few things like hooks that you can get from the hardware store again, and just spray paint a bunch of things one color. And you know, that could be for a child's bedroom, a nice fun way to update it for minimal cost.
I'm also thinking, even if it's something like napkin rings that you inherited that you don't use anymore because you want to have them a different type of metallic finish. Honestly, once you purchase a couple of cans of spray paint, there's no stopping you. I once did urns. I had those classic kind of traditional black urns, but I wanted to add a pop of color in the backyard. So and lime green is our accent in the backyard. So get the kids involved too.
So fun. Get the kids involved.
Get some glasses.
Definitely.
A mask.
They feel like they're making a mess, but they're actually helping
you.
Yeah,
kids start spray painting. Let's talk about kitchens because sometimes a kitchen overhaul, renovation is totally out of the question due to budget. But you know, you were saying earlier to me that sometimes it's really only the handles that make your kitchen look old, the hardware.
For sure. You can change the style of your kitchen really quickly and easily by just changing the handle, the hardware, and you can do it for under $100. So if we can just look at those handles there. There's a few different styles, you know, anything from a more country to modern, and it's, again, a really quick fix.
Poles, handles, satin nickel, black finishes as well. What about the cabinetry? Because I know that you don't have to tear everything out. Sometimes it's just cabinetry refacing of the fronts.
You can do that as well, yeah. These are just some off-the-shelf ones from the hardware store, so you can reface your cabinetry really easily.
Yeah, and what about door hardware? This is something, again, a lot of us inherited brass knobs in our homes, and I know like myself, you know, I waited a few years hoping brass would come back, still not seeing it really. So I replaced mine with satin nickel, but that's a quick fix too, right?
It is a quick fix. If you go to the hardware store, you can see they have beautiful options for, you know, maybe $40 or $50 per handle, which, you know, adds up around an entire house, but makes a huge difference if you've got those old dated ones in your house. So,
okay, and here we're looking at registers. Often the ones that we have on the floor are plastic, or, you know, occasionally you don't even have a register. You have a hole you have a hole in the floor.
Or they're really dirty and dusty from years of use.
So how great is this? This is a matte black finish, and I guess knowing the size of your register is key, because it's always either, there's two standard sizes, right? The smaller size, then you have the one that's a little bit deeper. So those are really quick and easy, gorgeous updates as well. And I said to you right before we came on, I said that's also the type of thing that you can spray paint if you happen to have a brass register.
For sure.
To get out the spray paint.
Yes,
which
definitely.
is a good idea. Actually, on our Facebook page, The Nest with Kasie Savage, found a great antique find, some rattan ottomans, and they were kind of that kind of country honeyed color, and I got the kids to get out the old can of antique white.
I think I saw that on Instagram.
Yes,
looked
I did have a few
fantastic.
people question why my children weren't wearing masks, but we were in a well-ventilated area.
Well, you were looking out for them. Masks are a good idea.
Yeah.
That's fun.
So Elise, thank you so much. Quick and easy updates. Love that you always bring your home staging perspective of how can we do this on a shoestring budget, but with great impact. So thank you very much. Don't go anywhere, because we need you for the last segment in the show. And coming up after the break, what's new in homes? Well, we have Dave Clayton here, and he's talking about something that so many of us are talking about, taking those traditional spaces and opening them up. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. I'm sure you've seen in all of the magazines, on all of those great decor and design shows, it's all about opening spaces up. And if you happen to be in a home where it's very much boxed off into little separate rooms, and you're thinking to yourself, what can I do about my current floor plan? Here to answer all of those questions that are on your mind and my mind, from Alair Homes, Aurora, Newmarket, we have Dave Clayton here, the pro, not just a pretty face. He also has a tool belt. He's doing stuff, or usually delegating to someone with a tool belt. So I would hazard to guess that you're not doing any homes where people are requesting little segregated rooms.
Right.
It's all about opening up.
Nobody wants more rooms.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's all about open floor plans. So what if you're stuck with a house that you purchased, that you've lived in for years and years, that is one of those traditional, older, room with little doorways? How do you have any options, or do you have to move?
No, absolutely. There's options. And I would say right now, 100% of the renovations that we're doing involve opening up those traditional rooms, almost always centered around the kitchen, right?
Yeah.
We're opening that kitchen into the living room, into the dining room, sometimes both. That seems to be kind of the focal point of the home.
Yeah, the only room that's actually remaining in and of itself a separate room is the bathroom.
Right. Right.
Okay, so let's talk about the kitchen to the family room. What is entailed, first of all?
Right, so anytime that we're doing structural work like that, we always want to make sure that we bring in an expert to evaluate the structure, do some engineering review, make sure that we can move walls without affecting the integrity of the home.
Yeah, so this is a big deal. It's not like those DIY shows where you grab a sledgehammer and do it yourself.
Absolutely not. This is not a DIY thing. This always involves a building permit when we're talking about load-bearing walls, and you want to have experts doing that review to make sure that everything's safe and done appropriately.
So are there cases where you cannot open up a room?
There are, and again, that kind of comes back to the engineering review. We normally will bring in a structural engineer to look at the house initially, decide what we're able to do. Once that gets submitted to the town, they have their own engineering department that does a secondary review. So it hits a couple of checkpoints along the way. Sometimes what we think might be great, take out all the walls, it's not always possible.
Which is great. I love that there are checks and balances, because that's a great way. Safety first and foremost, right?
Of course,
because
yes.
Let's face it, if you have a two-story home, the entire weight of the upper floor is now going to be shifted to different points within the house, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Ideally, otherwise you're not doing the reno. So let's take a look at some pics that you brought in with regards to some before and afters of opening up spaces. So here, is this a dining room that we're looking at that opens to a kitchen?
Yeah, so right now in the foreground, we're seeing the dining room. In the back behind the doorway, kind of tucked in behind is the kitchen with the breakfast nook straight ahead through those windows.
And then what did you do here in the after? Oh,
so,
wow.
Yeah, so we've opened everything up. Not only did we open up the kitchen to the dining room, also the kitchen to the living room, and we actually relocated the kitchen. So we moved that into that new space in the foreground.
So is that kitchen in what used to be the dining room?
Yes.
So now it's an enormous kitchen, because what are we seeing now in the background? Is that where they eat at an island?
Yeah, exactly. So that's now an island used for dining space, for board games, for kids doing their homework. It's kind of an all-purpose area now.
So in other words, doing away with the formal dining room you use twice a year in favor of usable space that you're using 365 days a year, which totally makes sense. Okay, so let's take a look at another pic here.
So this is that same kitchen. So we're now kind of tucked around that first wall. We're seeing the kitchen, and then the living room is there behind. Again, you can see how it's a small doorway sort of tucked back. Yeah.
And then you just blow it all open.
So there's that island again that you're seeing, and now we've opened that up completely to the living room. So it's now just a large cohesive space, living room, dining area, and kitchen.
Built-ins, fireplace, which always makes a kitchen cozy when you have access visually to the fireplace, and it brings everyone together. Now, I will say, we were joking about this earlier, one of the downfalls of having a fully opened up space, I mention often that I have 3 boys, and because they're so hungry, they're always in the kitchen, because there's if I say get out of the kitchen, no matter where they go, they're still kind of in the kitchen. So now I just have to say go to the basement to get the kids out of the kitchen cabinetry. So when we talk about costs, I'm sure it varies, but what would we be looking at if you've got, a typical size home, maybe 3,000 square foot home, and you're opening up a kitchen to a family room?
Yeah, so again, it's going to vary drastically based on the size of the walls that we're opening, based on what we're doing with that space. If we're putting in a whole new kitchen, obviously that adds a huge cost element as well. So typically we'll look at a budget, and we'll just decide what we're able to do with that budget.
And I think something homeowners probably need to keep in mind as well is usually opening up one area leads to another, and of course it affects many things like flooring, for example.
Of course. Every time that we open up a wall, now you have a gap in the flooring. So it almost always comes with redoing all of the flooring throughout. Typically, that's a pretty good time to do that, right? To look at updating that flooring, get something new and fresh in there.
Yeah, so there's really no such thing as a patchwork solution, right? You have to look at the whole when you open it up. Okay, thank you so much, Dave. Don't go anywhere, because we need to see you in just a little bit in our last segment, Ask a Pro. But coming up next, we have Jackie Kovacs, editor of York Life magazine. She has the Love It list, and it's all about your personality right after this. Welcome back. What does your decor say about you? When people walk into your house, do they know what your likes are? Do they know where you've traveled? Do they get a feel for your personality? And if you're saying no to all of those questions, then here to help you inject a little personality into your home is editor of York Life magazine, Jackie Kovacs, who does all the shopping for us. So Jackie, welcome.
Thank you.
So good to have you here. You went to Niche Decor again, didn't you?
I did. I went to their Newmarket showroom. And it's great to be on trend, but at a certain point, your house has to reflect you. So I went looking for things that, based on people's interests, that they could find that look beautiful, but also look like them.
Yeah, and that's so important, because a lot of people just go to a generic home store. You look for what's on sale or what matches. Let's say your theme is turquoise. You look for all the turquoise accessories, and you pile them up, and then you think, why do I have that pine cone when I hate nature?
Exactly.
Okay.
So you need to make it personal.
Exactly. Okay, so These do not reflect Jackie. That's our disclaimer right out of the gates.
They might.
Oh, or they might. Or they might. But what do we have first here?
Well, I mean, let's face it, yoga is huge. And I mean, there's so many kinds of yoga, and people that like yoga like it a lot.
Yeah.
So,
Namaste in bed. How many of those shirts have you seen?
oh yeah. So I thought these little figurines were fabulous, and they're very affordable. And you know, it's just a nice way to add, oh yeah, you know, so and so loves yoga, and it's these are obviously yoga poses. I don't do yoga, so I'm not quite sure which poses they are.
I can't actually get my arms to do this formation, but even if you have a room where you want to be zen and relaxed, you've carved out a quiet space for yourself, a reading nook, and these would be kind of centering.
And it's not over the top. It's just a nice little touch of you.
Right, yeah. And it's very tasteful as well and artistic to look at, as opposed to the Namaste in bed t-shirt
Yes, let's face it,
that I
they're
may or may
peaceful.
not own.
Yeah.
Okay, so what do we have here?
Well, I thought this was beautiful. And I thought about my mother who loves gardening.
Yeah.
And loves the outdoors. And this is just kind of an elegant way to reflect that passion. And also happens to have that gorgeous metallic, warm metallic
Yeah,
trend we're
it almost
seeing.
reads a bit gold, a bit pewter, a bit silvery, so it matches with every decor. And you often talk about the fact that you have less than a green thumb.
I do. So I could grow this.
Yeah, this is the type of outdoors you can bring in that doesn't have a swarm of, you know, flies attached to it, for example. You don't have
Yes.
to water it. So really pretty and sculptural. I can see it maybe on a side table or
Absolutely.
something. And you know, Elise Volpe, who's our professional home stager that we had on at the start of the show, she often talks about using things in different ways. So maybe even using this as, you know, a way to hang your jewelry as well.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
beautiful.
I mean, you could even put it against some books. I mean, it's
Yeah,
heavy
on a
enough.
mantle. Really nice. Okay, and then what about this interesting
This
little
one
piece?
actually reflects my interest a bit because I do love to travel. So, you know, you could get a globe, or you could get this kind of cool sculptural, artistic, got the metal thing going on.
And is it an actual functional globe? It has, you know, the right countries and the right.
That I can't verify, but it does get the idea across, and it's a little bit different. You know, it's pretty. And again, this could be anywhere in your home, and it speaks to your own personal interests. But it's
check the
got
price
some
on
interesting style. It's quite affordable, $157.
$157. It's the Dundas Iron Desk Globe from Niche Decor.
And you know, sure, desk, but also side table, bedroom, foyer table.
Okay, whoa,
shelf.
save those ideas. Save those ideas for the last segment of the show. Okay, coming up right after this break, we are going to assemble our panel of pros, Jackie included, to answer your viewer questions. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back right after this. Okay, we are back. This is the last segment of the show. It's where we take your questions and we put them to the pros to get you all the advice you need. And you know what? If this isn't your question that we're about to look at in your photo, I'm sure you will still be able to relate to it. So we talked in this episode with Alair Homes' very own Dave Clayton about opening up spaces. And that's the question that we're going to be bringing to you right now. We have Sarah from Newmarket who sent in this picture of her home. Oh, wait, sorry. Yeah, here's the home. Here's the home. Then I'll introduce our pros. So they've got two photos that we'll show you. So this is the family room, and you see where that mirror is. It's against a large wall. On the opposite side of that wall is the kitchen. So this is that perennial question. What do we do? Do we do a half wall? So that's really her question, is do we do a half wall where we still have a place to put the sofa? And I think a lot of people, Elise, I'll let you address that in a bit. I think that's their main question is, I love the idea of opening up a space, but then where do you put your furniture if you're now down one wall, right? So we have Elise Volpe, professional home stager, Dave Clayton from Alair Homes, and the one and only Jackie Kovacs, world traveler and editor of York Life magazine. So good to have you guys here. So I'm sure you've seen this home time and time again. And the age-old question of, do we open it up completely or do we just do the half wall so that we have a place to put our sofa? What do you think when you see a space like this?
I love open concept, and I think you can purchase furniture that you can walk around. So maybe instead of a sofa, you have 2 chairs, because they already do have a sofa in that one area.
Yeah.
So you don't need another one. So I think, you know, you could get a couple of chairs that would serve the same purpose.
And is there a way to do, Dave, a half wall that still gives you the look of open concept, or are you just anti-half wall as well yourself?
Again, it kind of comes back to the homeowner's preference and the kind of the design look that you're going for. Half-height wall is certainly feasible. It's just we want to make sure that we're maintaining structural integrity of the home and make sure that we can actually take down that wall without affecting the living space above.
And how low can you go, Elise, if you do a half wall? Because how low can you go if you're doing a half wall? Because I know some people say, oh, it has to always be counter height, where I've seen friends of mine that have done a much lower wall that is literally the height of their sofa, so it almost seems invisible in some ways. What are the rules? Are there rules, design rules to that sort of thing?
Yeah, I think you would either go maybe counter height or bar height.
Or
and
bar height.
then they're going to serve whatever function that you want based on those two different heights.
Okay, and Jackie, what about you? When you see that room, are you a traditionalist where you like your rooms separate and apart?
I'm kind of mixed, because part of me really likes the open concept, but I think about in terms of heat and cooling efficiencies and how long will this trend last? Will people return to rooms? Because it's nice to have places to not be always with people, speaking as a mother of 3. So I'm really
To
really
escape from your children.
Yeah, so I'm kind of mixed on it, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, and Dave, do you think there'll come a day in the near future where you're putting up walls? Because people say, yeah, I'm kind of sick of this open concept. Can you just build me a huge wall to separate these rooms?
We haven't seen it yet, but who knows?
Yeah, you never know. Elise, you yourself, I know, are in a pretty open concept home. Are there any drawbacks to having it open concept, in your opinion?
The noise is definitely a drawback. You have to be strategic about the kinds of furniture placement that you have, and rugs and drapery can absorb the sound to try to help reduce noise from bouncing off of the walls and floor. So I would say sound is definitely a challenge I have in my home.
And from a construction point of view, Dave, what are the drawbacks that you've seen to opening up a space completely?
Cost obviously is kind of the biggest obstacle that people get into, and then also again it all comes back to whether it's structurally possible to open it up to the extent that people want to. Sometimes that vision looks great on paper, but we just can't do it.
Yeah. And then Jackie, I know as a mom, I love the fact that you bring up, the cold, hard truth. Sometimes you just need to get away from your kids and there's nowhere to go in an open concept area. My kitchen was opened up to be open concept to the family room. And I would say a huge drawback a lot of people don't think about is because you're now entertaining in that huge area, you need to make sure that your sink has absolutely no clutter, no dishes, and staged, as Elise, the professional home stager, staged at all times. So it's difficult when entertaining to prep food, to cook, and to keep everything nice and neat and tidy without some place to go. We're seeing a lot of floor plans now for newer homes that have that servery that's kind of tucked to the side. Have you been building any of those in homes?
Sure, yeah, built-in cabinetry, kind of in strategic locations so that we're serving multiple spaces.
Yeah.
Definitely something people are going toward a lot now.
And then what about flooring? I mean, kitchen, a lot of people say, oh, you can't do hardwood in a kitchen, but when you're opening up a space, what are you doing, Dave, in people's homes for open concept flooring?
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of hardwood in kitchens. You figure anytime that we open up a wall, you now have kind of a scar in the floor. It's a great opportunity to reface the entire area. And consistent flooring throughout is very, very common now. And we are doing a lot of hardwood in kitchens and areas that weren't traditionally hardwood areas. And
what stains have you been doing for hardwood? Because I hear things are lightening up. Have you been lightening up, or are people still kind of stuck on darker hardwoods?
We're seeing a bit of both.
Yeah.
And again, hard to comment on the trends because it really varies from homeowner to homeowner.
Yeah, and Elise, what do you think in terms of flooring? Are you someone that thinks, kitchen hardwood, warping water, or what do you like to see in an open concept room as far as flooring?
I always like a consistent floor across the whole open area, for sure. I like hardwood in the kitchen. I think if you're worried about water, you can put a beautiful little area rug down to absorb any little spills.
A runner, yeah. And then Jackie, what about yourself? Are you in a home that's open concept, or is yours more separate kitchen, separate family room?
It's sort of room opening upon room, but it has a feeling of separate rooms. There aren't doors, but you can tell you're in a different room. And the flooring does change, which is interesting. I have a very unforgiving ceramic floor in the kitchen, and then also in the entryway, and then we're hardwood elsewhere. And light, because dark shows all the dust.
Oh, love the practical tips. Dark shows the dust, so true. And the cat hair.
And the cat hair.
As cat owners. Okay, guys, thank you so much. As always, tons of really great and useful tips. I hope that answers some of your questions today. Maybe you feel inspired to go to your local home store and find a bit of personality to inject into your home, or maybe it's just some quick fixes and updates as Elise provided us earlier in the show, or maybe you're going all the way and you're calling Alair Homes and blowing out those rooms. Until next time, don't forget to visit our Facebook page, The Nest with Kasie Savage. We'll see you next time.